Hello, welcome to Rabbit Holes with Aaron. I'm Aaron, and we just go down a lot of rabbit holes. And today we really got some interesting ones. And today with me, I've got my friend Nikolai. We were in the same fraternity. He was another president of the fraternity. And yeah, he's active duty Army right now, continuing to accomplish great things and keep us safe and all the important things that he's doing out there. I've had him on one podcast episode. I don't remember what episode it was. I think 12 seems to pop in my mind, but that might be it. That might not. But we had a good time talking then, and we wanted to do it again. So here we are. What did I miss about you, Nikolai? Is there anything else you'd like to mention about yourself?
I mean, there's been some things that have happened since last time we talked, but mainly just army stuff. Just going through lots of training and stuff, getting ready for an upcoming trip overseas.
Okay, thank you. And I know these are sensitive topics, right? Loosely slip sink ships or
Yeah,
whatever. No, I appreciate that you shared that with us. Okay. Well, excuse me, we talked about telling the truth. And I came up with that idea to talk about that because I had seen Jordan Peterson. I enrolled in the Jordan Peterson Academy and I've learned so much in so short a time. But one of the things he said that I've been, I've been stuck on, I guess. I've been processing is that if you want a life of adventure, start telling the truth, and being committed to the truth. And I thought, well, I thought of some ways that it's adventurous. And, we'll turn it back over to you in a minute. Like if you're a whistleblower, or in the Army, in the Marine Corps, in government at all, it's like, well, yeah, we just kind of, maybe we summarize these numbers. It doesn't have to be exact. It's like, that's not, that's not honest. That's not true. Who do I tell? How much do I like my career? Exactly. And on it goes, right? Like that would be adventure. Like, and discretion is a better part of valor, at some extent. But I thought, telling people how you feel, telling people what you think. So I can see some ways it could possibly be adventure. What do you think?
I could definitely agree with that, but I'll go ahead and play devil's advocate. I think that there's a key aspect about integrity that usually draws pretty highly into my life, where if I realize I'm trying to hide something, then I'm probably not being truthful, and I'm usually driven to then like talk about it more or come clean if it's something bad that I've done. Even when I've realized I've told like a white lie for no reason.
Sure.
When I realize like the ultimate, like I've been definitely been caught plenty of times before where I've told a white lie and minutes afterwards like, why did I say that? They don't care
Yeah.
about the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. Integrity and this kind of concept that, I've started to see people as mostly being inaccurate. Used to be, I was like, lie, 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 lie.
Yeah.
All you say is lies to me. And a lot of times people don't even know they're lying and they're just really being inaccurate.
Hmm.
You know, science. Science is inaccurate. How do you know? Because every few years you're like, well, we were wrong about that.
Yep.
Okay. You know,
Yeah.
okay. One that takes me to another rabbit hole, and there's just going to be a million to choose from here in a minute, but it's like the truth can set you free. And I think about that moment when I realized I said or did something that wasn't true to me, but also maybe the words weren't true, and how I feel when I say, hey, can I talk to you for a second? I want to let you know that the other day what I said wasn't quite true. Free. Just sets you free.
Hmm.
I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to lie to cover up lies anymore. I am literally walking a free man. What do you think about that?
No, I will 100% agree with that because like there's been plenty of times where like you're saying like you're having to tell more lies to cover up the original lie, and most of the time that original lie, like I was saying earlier, like they don't care, right?
Yeah,
Um, Same thing with you, where like they're like early on in life, I had a hard time with when I thought people were being like they were lying to me all the time, but reality was they were just being a little bit inaccurate or playing something up way bigger than it needed to be, or whatever it was.
trying to convince you perhaps or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, trying to get me onto their side, whatever it was. And I've noticed that over the years, I have way more respect for somebody that's willing to do what you just said. Like, hey, can I pull you aside real quick and let you know about this thing? Because 9 times out of 10, I don't care. Not that I don't care about they're telling me, but like, I don't care that the original thing was a little bit untruthful or a complete fabricated lie.
Right.
It's like everybody, I don't know how much you go into like the military social media sphere, but
Not at all.
have you ever heard of Tim Kennedy? All right, well, he's a big dude, or I guess he was. He's kind of gone down in popularity because it's come out that a lot of the stuff he was saying was not true, and he finally came clean about it. And I didn't really, because I try to avoid the military sphere on social media because I live that every day. I don't need to listen to people
Yeah.
regale me with their stories or tell me how to be a better soldier or whatever they're trying to, or sell me their coffee or their t-shirts or whatever it is that it seems like
Yeah.
a bunch of veterans do when they get out. But this one just kept popping up, so I looked into it because I'd heard his name before because he's been around for years and years and years now. And I knew that he did a lot of stuff, and I knew that he had done a lot of kind of secret behind the door stuff. And I just got hit with tons of people like hitting me up and being like, "Hey, have you seen this about Tim Kinney?" I was like, "Nope," because I don't care.
Yeah.
But I think it's good for people to come forward and be like, "Hey, like it wasn't as cool as I said I was," or here's the actual facts, or here's the things I definitely lied about. And that's like the most recent thing I've seen that was like public of
Yeah.
that nature.
Yeah. Yeah. It's freeing. I think of, yeah. And when I think about lies and we think about the opposite thing, there's some intention there, I think. Otherwise, it's just inaccurate. Like there's some intention. Otherwise, it's not a lie. Like if they want to trick you, they want to manipulate you, they want, you know, I don't know. There's a million reasons to lies. And like we were talking about a second ago, a lot of them are so minor, it's silly, you know, and you don't have to do that. And, when you got to make a big decision, you need the truth. You need some facts, you know, to make your decision. I mean, yeah, let's talk about some people that are really, their whole career is built around not telling, being inaccurate. Used car salesman. Used car salesman, right? They got,
Yep,
I don't know anybody. I'm not going to name any names, but I can tell you, I've been worked over by some of those guys before.
yep. And the worst part is like I think the first time I ever bought a car, and it wasn't from a used salesman. It was cash. I think this was so long ago. I think I did it through like a newspaper ad or something like that.
Sure. Okay. Okay.
And it wound up not being a great car. It was way worse than what the person had said, and I was really upset about that.
Yeah, you feel betrayed.
But on the flip side of it is, I technically couldn't prove that they didn't know about it, that they hadn't gone in and fixed all the bugs well enough to sell it.
Right.
And so I kind of just like, well, I bought kind of a lemon, and then I passed it on to my sister.
There you go.
But she knew about all the problems.
But you could tell her to lemon. Yeah. If
Yeah.
he said, this will probably get you around for a couple of weeks, you'd be like, okay, never mind. Or maybe it's just what you needed. I don't know, but you can make a better decision if,
Well,
you know.
she actually, sorry, I gave it to her when I left for, well, we were splitting the car, and I just gave her full ownership when I left for the army. And she turned around and sold it, or did a trade. She did a trade in, and she got like 2,000 or $2,500 for it. And I was just like, no way.
Yeah, it does feel like justice when you can play their own game with them. Like,
Yeah.
here you go. Here's this trade and it's amazing and they give you money for it and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I've had that happen with an RV. I knew about 25 problems with my last RV and I was like, they're like, would you trade it in for a new RV?" And I was like, depends on what you offer me for it. And then they
Yeah.
offered me and at like 12,000 and I knew it wasn't even worth like 9,000 because I had a list of 10 things that needed to be fixed, in my brain. And I'm like it's barely hold together with shoestrings, some twine, and a little bit of super glue. And they're like, "We'll give you 12,000." I'm like, "Where do I sign?" Here you go. Yeah, they weren't happy about that. Later, though, they were like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, you gave us this RV." I was like, "Oh, yeah." I mean, and they were kind of shady anyway. They were kind of like, yeah, we inspected it, and they didn't even look at it, didn't even open it up. Like, I'm like, all right.
That's on
I
them at
mean,
that point.
yeah, I know. I mean, I was waiting for them to inspect it and come back and say, well, we'll give you 7,000. Done.
Yeah, you still would have
Done.
taken it.
Like, here you go. My goodness. Yeah. Yeah, honesty.
I'd say
It's it.
the
Go
what's that?
ahead.
Okay, I
No,
was
go
gonna
ahead.
say the most recent thing I had, and this even still wasn't. It was about 5 years ago. It happened in 2019. I bought my most recent house back in Texas and passed inspection. I don't know how. Now that I've owned it for this long, I don't know how it passed inspection. But that person 100% just slapped band-aids on everything just long enough for it to get past the 30-day window before I could be like, no, I need my money back, like right now.
Yeah,
Because that thing had all kinds of problems. But because of the housing market, it's kind of it's worked out in my favor because all the repairs I have to do still, plus all the ones I already did, I'm still going to make so much money.
sure. Well, good. Yeah, I know. There's so many systems where a little bit of foul play is kind of figured in,
hmm
right? I don't like that, but I don't know how to take that apart for people. But yeah.
I think it's a person by person thing because like oh, that's another thing that happened since last time you and I talked. I sold one of my houses, and I was really torn just to do the landlord special because the tenant just absolutely trashed it. They did over $30,000 in damage to the house,
Hmm.
and I was like, I can just do the quick, paint everything white, clean it up, and just get it on the market and take the first cash offer that comes along my way because I would still make money. And Shelby and I, we talked, and I was just like, this is what I want to do. We need to get it on the market as soon as possible. And she was like, no. She's like, I want to make this house something that people will want to move into. And
Mm.
at first I wasn't on board, and then I saw what she was doing. I was like, oh, the house is beautiful again. Like this is better than when we bought it, right? And it cost a lot more than what I had intended, but it wound up paying off dividends. Like it sold for I think only 10 grand less than what we were asking, and that was still a massive. Like we walked away with like $90,000 or something on the back end, and so it easily paid off all the money that we put into renovating it and paid off all of our debt
Yeah.
and everything. And it was getting to the point where I was like, because it stayed on the market for a long time because I took the army let me take a whole month off to go down there and do all the like the really nasty gross stuff, and then Shelby just go down there once a week after that, and it took us about I want to say 4 months total before. No, it was more than that. It got listed on the market in December, and we got back a hold of it this time last year, so almost 6 months of just
Okay.
slowly getting it back up to where it was an actual family home again and not just a quick landlord special like rental property. And
Hmm.
the very first offer we got on it didn't feel right. Like they super lowballed us and they put it on all these stipulations that basically were going to like make it to where we walked away completely even. And that still would have been fine financially because we just needed to get rid of the house. And we were finally like, we're like, it's something that just, it didn't feel right in the deal. And so we dug our heels and we're like, no, like this was the original asking price. We're willing to go this price and it's as is. And if you have problems with it, you have to fix it. And they immediately canceled the contract. And then we didn't have another offer for I think 3 more months after that. And then that offer went smooth. They love the house. The only thing that we had to do was we had to put in a new septic tank. That's just because it didn't pass code, and we didn't know. So yeah,
Yeah. It seems like what you're saying is it turned out good
hmm
because you guys put some work in and handed off a decent product, to
yeah,
someone else.
yeah. And we didn't lie. Like we told them like, hey, these are all the things that we weren't able to fix. Like these are issues with the property that are going to take time. Like the guy damaged he damaged the backyard so bad, and we're like, hey, like we've done what we can, and it might take a couple of years before it's like lush and green again, and that's just because like the soil needs to like re like correct itself because he had just been like throwing trash and stuff back there that just like slowly poisoned the soil a little bit,
Mm.
and just was killing everything that was native to that area. But they loved it. They were like, no, like the house is beautiful, it's a great piece of land, it's right by the lake, like we love it, we'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's a lesson to everybody, right? Like, hey, do the right thing, put in a little work, give out a
hmm
good product, and It's gonna work out. What else about truth? Or did you have another rabbit hole? I haven't been. Yeah, I wrote down.
I guess like for me, whenever I think about like telling the truth, like something that always goes like hand in hand with that is also just like being truthful to like whatever your morals are, because that's usually what's going to drive you to tell the truth versus lie. So like I think I've told you this before, where I actually got fired in the army
I don't
for
remember. Go ahead.
but the real short story, because it's a very long story, the short part of it is I got fired because I stood up for my soldiers. There was a leadership changeover, and so we had an interim first sergeant who was one of the other platoon sergeants, and he just was not he was not well liked. His entire platoon hated him, and all the other platoons did not like working with him. He was a pain in the rear end.
Okay.
And I got put on a detail with some of my soldiers, and we were supposed to work for 24 hours with the shift changeover happening at like 03 in the morning or something like that. And then we had 2 days off. And the reason why we had 2 days off instead of just one day off was because the first day was to get your sleep in after you got off shift, and then the second day off was to make sure that you were well rested enough to be able to come in at 3 in the morning and be able to like
Yeah.
greet generals and stuff, because we were on a security detail for a core headquarters building,
Mm.
and we weren't allowed to sleep on shift. Like you had to be up for the whole 24 hours. And he didn't like that. He wanted us to come in on that second day off. Like his understanding of Army regulations was that like we were only supposed to get 24 hours. And so I stood my ground. I was like, no, like this is the reason. This is the reason why what I was told, by my interim, not my interim, my actual boss at the place I was working. It was supposed to be like a 3 or 4 month long detail, so I didn't belong to my unit during that time. And he just didn't like it. He didn't like my excuses, and so I just stuck my ground. Told my guys, I don't care how many times he calls you, you will not come in. You will stay off. He wound up going and complaining enough that I got, when the actual incoming first sergeant that was supposed to be where he was in, fired me on the spot. First thing he did when he got to the company was he fired me. He said I was a lousy squad leader because I had obvious insubordination issues with not being able to take orders. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I just like, okay, well, that's your opinion of me. That's fine. I don't care. And again, it wound up paying off in the long run because I just continued doing. I didn't change anything about myself. Refused to kiss any ass or apologize for my behavior. I just let my actions as a leader at the time speak for myself, and then let the other guy, the guy that got me in trouble, his actions speak for himself. I never like tried like plant like seeds in people's ears, minds or whatever, however you want to phrase that, about
Yeah.
oh, he's a terrible leader and he doesn't care about people. I was just like, okay, that's y'all's opinion. I'll move on. And I wound up, because I got fired from the platoon I was in, I got put into that bad NCO as punishment. And then within about a year and a half, the first sergeant liked me more than the platoon sergeant. And every time they had like platoon meetings or company meetings, he would pull me as a squad leader to go represent the platoon instead of that platoon sergeant.
Okay. Good story. Yeah. Yeah, I think telling the truth for me seems to come out of a really deep place. And I didn't notice till I was at a crossroads. I think maybe I told this story, but I was getting ready to pay the taxes on my pottery business, and I was a little bit late for it. It was going to be another couple $100 or another $100 added on, but it was a little bit more than I had in my account, and I was like, I could just change some of these numbers. And a part of me was like, I mean, it's just me doing my sales tax. I mean, we're talking about a matter of 50 or $100, but still, it'd be like, I could just change these numbers. And inside of me, I was like, no. Do you want to be worried about them coming and finding out and charging you, whatever? No, I don't want to be worried about any of that. I mean, for the rest of your life, do you want to be worried? No, I don't really want to be worried for the rest of my life. Okay, let's just write the right numbers in there. And then I talked to Jill and she was like, yeah, just move some money over from our personal account. No problem. Cover the sales tax. But see, it was a little bitty thing, but I just imagine what the cost would be as far as my peace. You know, would I dream about it a little bit? Would I, whenever I get a phone call, be like, they finally caught me? I don't even want to live that way, and I can only imagine. And this is the smallest of infractions I was even thinking about, but can you imagine, if you lie on a big level, if you owe millions of dollars, if you really piss some people off and ruin their lives, you just never, that's what movies are about, right? Somebody knocks on the door and it's an assassin. They take you all out for something you did 30 years ago. Like, no, I don't want to worry about any of that. Not that that's where my story would go exactly, but I think my point was like, I make a decision to not lie to myself.
Hmm.
I have lied to myself before, and you talk about some hard forgiveness is forgiving yourself when you lie to yourself. It's
Yeah.
only in yourself. How bad could it be? But it will haunt you, right? It will. Being in conflict with myself is just something I don't choose anymore.
No, I don't think that's the way anybody should live or want to live or be willing to live because constantly, like, because it can make a problem way worse. Like, if you're not being truthful about, let's say, a friendship, right? You think you're great friends with somebody, but they treat you badly, they don't care about you, whatever it is that's wrong with them, and you just keep writing it off, keep lying to yourself that like, oh no, it's just a quirk, and it can have big effects on how you view yourself or how you start presenting yourself to the world. And it's, yeah, you're right. That's not a way to live. Like, and it could also just like small things, like you said, like, yeah, sure, you could have like at the end of the day still gotten in trouble, but like the worst that would happen was just a little bit of an audit, and they would just found out that you lied this year,
Yeah,
but or you got away with it and you had to wait. I think it's like they only audit back like 7 or 10 years, but you have to wait that long before it's clear and out of your brain, and that's insane. That's a waste of your mental, like whatever mental capacity you have.
yeah. It makes me wonder if that's what's making people so anxious,
Is that they're lying to themselves about stuff?
perhaps at some level, you know.
Yeah, I've thought about that too. Of like, us as a society, like we've gotten into a I want stuff right now, and I say a very common thing I've seen, amongst acquaintances, friends, very close friends, family, just random people I've met professionally, unprofessionally, and like a common one, like finances, right? Like it doesn't seem like when you look at the statistics, Americans aren't doing too great, family wise, of like how much the overhead debt per family is. I'd have to look it back up, but each year it goes up, and I feel like people are lying to themselves about how good they're doing, and I do feel like part of that issue comes from the fact that people want stuff now, and so they pay for stuff, or they live way outside, too early before they've actually truly saved up for it, or they're living way above their means of like, well, I want to live this way because this is what everybody else has on social media, right? Like this is all the nice stuff, nice things that other people have, and I deserve that too, but they only make like $35,000 a year. And I think that's a societal issue that we're having and seeing right now, and I think people are lying to themselves about that. And there's probably plenty of other things too that people are lying to themselves about.
Yeah, I had another thought the other day. Humility is being open to revelation. Like it's the way, I mean, it's a different way I heard about it, but it's like you're leaving yourself open to listen and to hear other input. Jill said it this way to me a minute ago or a few days ago. Be teachable because you're not always right, you know.
Yeah. So you said happiness is being willing to be open to revelation,
Humbleness,
humbleness,
humility.
humility. Okay. Okay. Yeah, because there's definitely been times in my life where I'm like, I don't care what you say.
Yeah,
I
right.
know
I
better
mean,
than
for
you.
all of us, like you don't know anything, leave me alone.
Hmm.
Yeah, but they might know something.
More than
I'm
likely they do.
almost, I almost guarantee they see something that I don't see. A lot of it may be the same stuff that I already know, but there's probably something in there I could learn if I
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah. I mean, just viewpoints, right? Everything's so political right now, like everything's black and white. There's no middle ground really anymore. And I don't think a lot of people are humble enough to be willing to listen to what the other person has to say. It's just to me like, no, there's my truth and you're lying.
Yeah. And if I shout it louder, then it's more true. It's just not. There's a certain element like of going back to telling the truth where it's like it can set me up to be absolutely surprised and betrayed, you know? If I'm believing lies, if I'm saying lies, if I'm, being untruthful, like somebody, I mean, obviously, I mean, we could completely apply this to marriages,
Hmm.
to romantic relationships, right? Where there's little lies here, little lies there, and all of a sudden it's like, you're seeing somebody else? Dun dun dun, and it's like it was a lie, they were
Hmm.
lying, or there's a lot of lies you got to enshroud that kind of stuff into. And so it's a good example, I guess, how it always, I mean, I've always felt betrayed when I believed a lie and when I found out it was true. It's not like people come up to you and say, "Hey, by the way, I've been lying to you for years. Here's the true thing." No, it's like, just a second, you said all this stuff, but there you are over there doing something completely different, or
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm surprised and I'm betrayed, but at the same time, when I really investigate it, I'm like, okay, I saw markers. I
Hmm.
was wondering, and I didn't pay attention. I didn't listen, you know. What do you think?
No, I 100% agree with that. I think the finding out, it's like, it when, like, going back to earlier, like when they tell you, you're like, okay, cool, thank you for telling me the truth. It's way different, way, way, way different when you find out the truth on your own. And um, it hurts. I think it hurts way, way, way worse,
Oh yeah.
uh, because I'd say a good chunk of times in my life, whenever I've had that experience, they will continue to stick with the lie, and then they're lying to you to your face, and that is just so much worse than finding the truth out, you know, natural, or through from them, versus you sleuthing it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the difference between, I don't know, I think we should go our separate ways day one, or I'm just going to cheat on you behind your back and hope you don't find out year five, or something,
Hmm.
or in 30 years, something comes to light. It's like, just, yeah.
Yeah,
I
just
mean, I hate to be broken up with on day one. Okay, fine. Yes, I wouldn't like it, but in comparison, I would love it compared to finding out any of the other ways.
well, yeah, because like there's the question of, how committed in the relationship are you? Like, are you willing to work past whatever happened? Like, are you now viewing all the time you spent with that person as wasted time? Like, were you guys, and then like, I could get there, guarantee you, like, seeing myself like going down like the rabbit hole of like, was I ever happy? Was this ever a good loving relationship? And that's even like with friends, like, like, was this person actually in my corner? Or I've had friendships end where I'm pretty cut and dry. If a friendship has run its course and I realize that person is lying to me constantly, or they don't always have my back and they're trying to sabotage me, the person they are around me is not the same person they are around other people, and they're like
Hmm.
telling lies about me to other people, I will cut that relationship immediately. And like sometimes I won't even tell them. Like I'll just be like, they'll be trying to reach out to me. I just, like, the last thing they'll hear from me is like, I don't ever want to hear from you ever again, because to me you're cancer. I don't want you. I'm cutting it out. And I'd say, like, you have to think about each relationship differently. Like, can I work past this? Can I? Because I've had that conversation. Can I work past this? Can I, forgive them slowly over time, or just immediately? Like, hey, just like choose not to let it affect me as much as other people would, or are telling me I should let it affect me. And I think that's a big part of it, because, like, saying like be humble, in the face of revelation. Like, I think that's like two pronged. It's not just like, hey, somebody illuminating you on like some bit of knowledge that you didn't know for like day to day stuff, but also like knowledge about them. Like, they're like, how would I want to get treated if I was the person doing the bad stuff? Like, would I fight to save that relationship, or would I just accept it because, like, hey, that's what I do to other people? And I think that's kind of changed what I do. I'm a little less, because it used to be like, Aaron, I would cut people out and people would be like, you got to give them a second chance. I'd be like, no, absolutely not, and I never want to talk about them ever again. And I've wondered, like, could I have had possibly some good, healthy relationships with those people if I just worked through what they were doing and not just immediately overreacted?
Mm,
or
yeah.
completely reacted. You know,
I like where you're at. I like what you're thinking there. Um, and that takes me back to relationships, right? Relation, and not that we've been talking about that here, but like the podcast has been, it's like a kitten with a ball of yarn, like chasing this ball of yarn all around my entire life of friendships and what makes a good friendship. And I think about truth. And I think about, it seems like these days that truth is something really nice to have in a relationship for most people. Like, hey, if you can tell the truth, do it. But like, it's not the norm. It's not expected. It's not, nobody's ready for it. I mean, most people aren't ready for it. But then I think about how much life it gives to me. And, communication is all kinds of messed up stuff between people now and friendships and relationships. And I think about how pivotal like truth is. Being able to trust somebody, to know and no, to really know there's another person by your side that's got your back. And truth is that. Truth does that. It's like, high tensile strength wire or something binding us, together. Like I can count on, for instance, what Nikolai's going to say right now. Like I have no doubt, right? I can count on, and a lot of veterans actually, and a lot of my friends, I know to be able to count on them, you know, to be on my side. What do you think about that in relationships?
yeah, I could definitely see it that way, but I also see like there are veterans that I don't ever want to associate with personally. I think that they're not good people because when you think about the the military as a whole, right? It's only 1% of the population, but that 1% of the population represents all of the population, minus the people that are completely unfit to serve. And um, that means that you have all of the personalities out there in the organization. And by and large, I can choose to look past, bad things about that I might not like about a person because ultimately, like, I'm there serving with them and they're serving and whatever their reasons are to have served might be completely different than mine, but they still chose to, raise their right hand and serve. But there are still just those, I think it's a case by case. I don't think it's a, like, I can more inherently trust a certain group of people because of what organization they belong to or something similar to me. I think it has to be 100% morally driven. Does this person align with me? And I will say, yes, there's definitely more veterans that I hang out with and converse with and trust and like use as sounding boards whenever I'm put in a tough situation. Like, hey, what do you think I should do? Even though like you said, like, I know, like, if I were to like ask you like a personal question or about something going on professionally, I'm pretty positive I already know exactly how you're going to answer. But it's good to have those friends and those acquaintances that you trust because you know they're not going to lie to you and kind of use them like a sounding board in those tough situations. Because
Mm,
it's also kind of like it's nice to know that you were already on the correct path and you just maybe needed like a little push in the right direction or just that confirmation before you pull the trigger and go tell whatever truth you needed to tell or do the thing that you needed to do. And it's interesting like when you start like breaking down. I like to every now and then like look at the people that I'm talking to the most and like ask why am I talking to that person more than other people that
mm,
I still talk to, but not on like the same like frequency. And what that causes me to do is realize that there are certain people in my life that like I need to talk to that person more because
yeah.
they're just as valuable to me as these other people, and which means I'm going to want to have their input on stuff. I'm going to want to know how the great and awesome things that they're doing in their life, or give them support, emotional, verbal support, or just celebrate their wins,
Yeah. 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 I hear a lot of aspects of good relationships, truth, but some other things we've talked about in the podcast is also like shared focus, shared
hmm
vision, shared goals. So, gosh, what was the other thing? Well, you alluded to it a minute ago. So it was shared goals, it was vision. We're talking about truth.
best interest.
No, it's like I don't know. It'll come up. It'll come back to me. But I mean, you're hitting all the wickets, right? And I'm just like, yeah, yeah. These are the things I've understood to be good about relationships and friendships. the evaluation, I guess, and is another aspect that you're talking about. Like, I'd like to talk to this person more. And in my life, it's funny that you say that because every time I want to talk to a person more, I actually get to talk to them less and less.
Well,
I don't know if it's because I don't know why it is. I don't know exactly why it is, but it's just interesting. Like I can think in recent history of people that I'm like, you know what? I want to talk to this guy more. He's smart. He knows what's going on. He doesn't worry about money. He makes a lot of money, whatever. He looks like he's got some truth to him, some wisdom. Like I want to pick his brain. And those are the people that I go out to pursue for whatever happens, life. They don't make a choice of like, I don't want to talk to Aaron, but that I know of. But it seems that way. Like, and I find in those moments, and it may just be me, but like, I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to wait another week for this person to text me back. So, what is it that maybe I just need to talk to myself, and that's where it leads me back to, personally in this part of my journey, but it seems like my whole life that's the way it is. I'm like, that is a person I want to work side by side with. And then that never happens. I don't know why that is. You don't have the answers. There's no answers, but
well, I was just gonna
interesting
say.
question.
Well,
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, are most of those people military or ex-military?
Actually, no,
They're
no.
not military.
Well, actually, one of them's a veteran, but yeah, the other ones aren't.
Not
Nope.
because I've noticed, because of how long I've been in, a good chunk of and I didn't have a whole lot of friends growing up, so that pool of not military, I was like the only friend in my group that went and joined the military, and I've lost touch with almost every single one of those friends. So that were
Hmm.
my pre-friends prior to joining the military. In fact, I can't remember it. I haven't talked this year or last year. I haven't talked to a single one of those friends. Again, same as you. Like it's not a lack of reaching out. It's just like I haven't heard from them. Like you said, like text them. And they're like, hey, and like that'll be like all I get back is hey. Well, at least I know this number still works. And I've always wondered if it's I've gone down that rabbit hole personally of like, is it something wrong with me? Like, what am I doing something wrong? Am I not communicating back to them enough? But almost every single one of my military friends, if I reach out to them, doesn't matter how long I've talked to them, it might not be immediate. They will get back to me, usually within a week. And it's always the same type of stuff like, hey, how you doing? Oh, that's awesome. Glad to hear that. That usually pretty positive, uplifting stuff. And I've always wondered if that's like a shared military thing, or I've just managed to collect military friends that really care about people, regardless of how long it's been since the last time you checked
Yeah,
in
I
on each
can
other.
I can reflect from my life that yeah, I mean this whole journey that I'm on to see all 48 states is dotted with veterans I served with. And it's more than just like, okay, well, it's nice getting a beer with you. See you later. It's like, what's going on in your life right now? Oh, this has happened. I did college, and this is my career, and I've got a family now for them, and for me, it's like I do this, I do pottery, blah, 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 update. And, now there's like, and if you want to be on my podcast, I throw that in there. But yeah, they're there. And it's not just the ships passing in the night kind of thing. It's like the ships dock and everything stops for a little while and you catch up. And that's so many veterans that I served with that my Marines or peers in the Marine Corps. I mean, I've got three Marines I'm lined up to see in this leg of the journey, and one in Vermont, one in Massachusetts, and obviously this one here is in Michigan, where I'm staying right now. And so, yeah, I guess we welcome each other back into our lives, which is the craziest thing. But that's a fraction of the Marines I've served with. Um, it probably revolves around what Marines went to Facebook and what Marines didn't, because I have a lot of those friends I know on Facebook are Marines I served with.
Yeah, I'd say the ones that have gotten social media and kept social media, those are the ones I can usually get in touch with because I've had some friends that they were best friend you could ever ask for in the military. And as soon as they got out, man, they just cut ties with all society. disappeared off the grid. Nobody knows where they moved to. They didn't move back to their hometown, and they changed their number. But weirdly enough, those guys, not every single one of them, but I have noticed every now and then one or two of them will just pop out of the ether. And like you said, it won't just be like a hey, and it might not even be like a lasting like okay, this is your number because they'll change it again immediately because they're just off doing whatever it is they want to do, and they'll just like you'll dock and you'll pass stuff from ship to ship and really like actually truly catch up and then wish them well and just wonder when the next time they'll pass you again.
Yeah. Yeah. Just glad to run back into them again. Just so
Hmm.
grateful, you know. Hmm. Yeah, that's powerful. I mean, that's what this podcast is for me too. Like getting to catch up with you and most of my podcast guests have been on for two times. And I don't know, there might be one that was on three times, but mostly it revolves around, and I catch up, one podcast. Okay, wait a little while. Where are you now? Hey, by the way, you want to be a guest again, right? That's what's happened with you and me. And you're like, yeah, I'd love to. And so here we are, catching up, talking about important stuff. Yeah, that's kind of the podcast idea in a nutshell, is just getting together with friends, having good conversations, doing life a little bit more, you know, than a phone call. But also it's like encapsulating it and saying, if anybody wants to know what this is like, all you gotta do is listen to the podcast. You want to see
Hmm.
what real friendships, honesty, you know, we talk about things that don't matter maybe immediately, but matter at some level in life. And like truth.
So, with truth and friendships, have you noticed that most of your like best or deepest connections with like your friends happened almost immediately as if you could sense that they were a good person that would always tell the truth, or did you like stand back a little bit and like let them
Hmm.
show that their actual value?
I don't know. I don't think, yeah. I think it was just chance and trauma bonding and stuff for a lot of my friends from the Marine Corps, right? I mean, for
Yeah.
instance, one of my good friends, one of my best friends, he's retiring as a gunnery sergeant now, but he was a reservist, who got involved in 2003, going to Iraq and, making the grass grow,
Yeah.
on his 50 cal, doing what we do. He was just, I think there's a picture of him firing a 50 cal smiling. Like,
Yeah.
like that's the kind of
Yeah.
guy where this is like, this is the warrior of old that like nobody that doesn't have a problem with killing bad guys. And
Yeah. My kind of
but
guy.
but yeah, we were in a little bitty shop. He was the wire chief, I was the tech chief, and like our office in Iraq were like right beside each other, which was no office at all, but we're just hanging out, talking, spending endless hours of not being in America, not being with any comforts, and just, I mean, we told each other every joke we had ever heard in our entire life. This is before social media. This is before, this is, well, social media was out there, but we didn't have access to anything when we were deployed, like
Hmm.
no internet, nothing like that. So yeah, it was just, I know his whole life story. He knows my whole life story. And it wasn't a matter of, hey, I'm going to need you, I got a clipboard here. I'm going to need you to kind of fill this out. And it was more like, hey, what's your name? I think we're going to be the best of friends for the rest of our life. And I call him and we catch up. And now he's out. He's retired like me now and doing good. Anyway, but I don't know. I don't have an evaluation, but later on I do because I just stopped talking to people. If they're
Hmm.
inconsistent, if they don't communicate, I give them a lot of tries. And then it's like, okay, well, reach out if you want. I got the same number, you
Yeah.
know.
My neighbor hasn't changed in 20 years.
And I think my invitation is open to anyone ever at all time. Like, hey, I'm going to take you in. You get into the front door. Let's see what you do. You know, if you want to come deeper, then that's open too. But most people, like at the front door, they're like, man, it looks nice and it looks warm and truthful in there. No thanks. Not, I'm out. Perhaps
Yeah.
I'm going to have to be real and stop lying to myself. I don't think so. Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Yeah, no, I don't play with that.
Yeah. I think that's what it is too, because we're kind of considering what pushes people out of our lives. And sometimes we're really open and we're really intentional. That was the word for relationships. Intentionality in relationships is a
Hmm.
big deal. But when we're not intentional and we just like have an open invitation. And you can come in as far as you want, but some people don't even want to be around it. It like scares them the other direction, I think. It's like magnetism. Attracts some people, repels other people. What do you think?
No, yeah, I think there's definitely like a what's the word? Your charisma will attract certain people to you, or like yeah, like you said, like magnetism. But yeah, I had a similar experience. Me personally, I like to sit back and evaluate people for like every now and then I'll get like a I can trust this. Like when I met you, like the very first time I met you, I was like, this is a cool dude. I want to know his life story.
Okay.
But that doesn't happen very often for me. And I'd actually say like most of the old guard in the fraternity were like that for me. Like meeting everybody from that graduated with you, like Jeff, Cody, all of them. I was like, oh, these are cool dudes. I want to know more about them. And then same with like Morgan, like she was prospect with me. It's like, oh heck yeah, I want to get to meet, want to get know more about Morgan. Um, and that was the first time in years, where I didn't just sit back and kind of like give people that,
I don't know.
because yeah,
Yeah.
because like I have two really good friends. We'll go sometimes months without talking to each other. Sometimes we'll talk almost every single day for an entire week before we go back to like months of not talking to each other. But they're the friends, the two of the friends I trauma bonded with in basic training, and we wound up going to the same unit. We just basically stuck to each other all the way until they both got out. And uh, after that, I went back to my normal like I'm gonna like I'll be very selective with who I let into my front door because I have been hurt in the past.
Yeah.
Um, I tried. I'm not gonna lie. After you graduated and left, and I took over the fraternity, I just tried to keep the front door open, and it wound up biting me in the ass. There were a couple of bad eggs
Mm.
that got in, and did some pretty hurtful stuff. And so I've kind of now that I'm in Colorado, I've noticed I do that more. I'm like I need to figure out more about this person before I actually go and have a beer with them or whatever. And
Yeah.
so it's actually kind of like led to it's one of the it's kind of like the juxtaposition. Have you ever? I'm pretty sure you noticed it. Getting up as high ranking as you did. Like the higher ranking you get, the fewer friends you can actually make because you can't make friends outside of your rank structure.
Sure.
And I'm starting to the combo of me wanting to be I need to be cautious of who comes through the front door, plus the rank I hold right now very narrowly limits who I
Yeah.
get to hang out with. Um, and I'm not gonna lie, it kind of stinks, which is why usually whenever people from my friend groups like you, like whenever you guys reach out to me, I'm not going to be the person that just like looks, picks up my phone, looks at it, and goes, I'll get to that later, and like I'll answer back almost immediately if I can, because
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say I'm lonely, but like I'm not off with other friend groups.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
sitting here in my room doing whatever it is I'm doing, and I actually don't like social media, but I am forced to use social media in order to like maintain my friendships because I'm on the army timeline. I move around every 3 or 4 years. I can't like when you met me was the longest I had been in one location with that time frame of like 7-ish years, I think, or no, 5 or 6 years was about the longest I'd stayed in one place since I joined the military.
Okay.
So I made a lot of really good friends also, as well as the bad friends while I was there. And those friends I like Michael, I talk to Michael almost daily. Kat, which I don't think you ever met her, I talk to her daily. Bryant was one of the people in ROTC with me, talk to her daily or as often as I can. When she's not being a drill sergeant or a not a drill sergeant, a AIT PL, and it's interesting. Like those people always have a pass to come in the front door. Like doesn't matter how bad they've or how much bad stuff their baggage they're bringing with them. Don't care. They're
Sure.
welcome in the front door. But other
Sure.
people, I definitely there's a screening process before you're allowed into my front door.
I'm not going to fault you for it. I mean, yeah, we all get hurt and we learn. We make new rules,
Mm-hmm.
new boundaries. I definitely understand that. Yeah. Wow. I don't even know how we got to 55 minutes, but here we are.
Yeah, I like looked over the clock. I was like, whoa.
Time time's fast when you're eating flies. What is it? No, no, that's not it. Time flies when you have
Yeah,
fun. There we
yeah.
go. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us today and for sharing a little bit more. And I gotta say, after all the things you talked about with friendship, I feel really honored to be here talking to you on the podcast. Like, yeah, that's important, and I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. And I mean, I feel the same. I like it whenever somebody like you that like you just takes time out of your day, regardless of who it is, just to talk back at me. So or talk back
Yeah.
to me.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we'll talk again. So stay tuned. Thank you all for listening. Bye.